Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Entrepreneurial Impact. And as we like to do from time to time, we like to have guests. So today we have Dr. Nguyen Tran. And Dr. Tran is a chiropractor. And I'm going to have to put you because medical terms always tongue-tie me and twist me a little bit.
Philly education.
It's definitely that Philly education, right? But it's more than just chiropractor. It's health and wellness and self-being and how do you take good care of yourself. And as we dive into the conversation today, we're going to get into the importance of health, managing stress, and how entrepreneurs really are affected and things they can do to take care of themselves. Before we get there, what's always been our main mantra of the story is the impacts that you have gone through, your life's journey, and how that has formated you and who you are, right? What moves you and what your passions are. That story is your foundation. So what I don't want to go into it because I think it's massive. So I want you to have to go into it. But you had a unique journey just to be here today from where you came from. I would love to hear about that. How you came from Vietnam, why and how that happened, and what brought you here, and what moved you to do and take care of people today through chiropractic.
Well, first, hello everybody. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for allowing me to tell my story today. My name is Dr. Nguyen Tran. I'm from Vietnam, and I escaped from Vietnam in 1988. I'm one of the boat people. If any of you ever heard about it, we consider boat people because we escaped by boat. And I was I'm 48 now. So when I escaped Vietnam, I was 13. And even though I grew up in Vietnam, I was born right after the Vietnam War. So life was really tough, especially with my situation because my mother used to work for the U.S. government before the war. So after that, we were heavily discriminated just because of political issues and like that. So I grew up with my grandparent, and my mother saw that we wouldn't have a future. So she'd been planning to escape many times. But I didn't know anything because, you don't tell kid things that you don't want people to know. So in 1988, we live in the South, in the South, but we tried so many times. She tried so many times, she failed. Because it's almost like underground. You have to pay someone, and then a lot of time, there's no receipt. Like that. So you pay, and they never come back, and then time when she get caught. Anyway, after several attempts, many years later, in 1988, we actually went to the north for a summer trip. I was astounding because it's the first time I get to travel on a ship and far away, a 7-day trip. And my brother was 8 years old. And we went to the north and was like, oh man, it's great. Nothing we know that, we'll be escaping. So the trip was just a good dessert. And then after that, there's no appetizer or nothing after that. Anyway, so we got to the north, but long story short, we get on a sailboat to escape, which was supposed to be, like a 5-day trip, and up to be 24 days in the ocean. And we have severe storms. So there was 20 people paid to get on the boat, but end up there's 64 people on the boat because there's no such thing as, check ticket, right? So in the middle of the night, everyone run to the beach and jump on this tiny little round rowboat. And I just remember very clearly that my brother was running in front of us, and he was so excited. It's like, oh, it's paddle, Mom, be careful. Yeah, and then I get on and jump in, grab his hand, and I go like this, and someone hit me in the head with the roll, and I was like, lay down. I said, okay. So I get my head down, and after a while, we get to this tugboat. And, I've never been on a boat, my life, because I live in the mountain. I don't know how to swim. Anyway, so we get from the boat and the tugboat. Now I know it's tugboat. Back then I didn't know what it was. But anyway, we get over there, and we were traveling, and all I could smell was the diesel fuel, right? The smell. And after, I don't know how long we were traveling, and then we go to the sailboat. So apparently now I know why, because the sailboat cannot sail in a bay. You have to go out to get the wind. So everybody would jump over. We get to the boat, we tuck together, and then everybody jump over, right? And then I step over, about to get the boat separate. I was like, oh, and then somebody grabbed me in the neck and pulled me back. That was my uncle, my wife's cousin, I could have gone, because that time nobody gonna save you. So that's the first time I almost faced death there. But along the trip, um, the boat was just no engine, just sailboat. 64 people on that boat. It took a day and a half, 2 day and 2 night, 3 day and 2 night. We escape to Vietnam, get into China, and then we get to China. It was amazing because now we're still alive. Because that entire trip, I remember keep hearing my brother asking for water because he's puking. We was seasick so bad. When we get to and I saw people, on inside the boat, but we're on top. I was like, wow, they're so brave. But then that was the best place because we're so tight that everybody lay on top of each other. So all the smell, all the odor was horrible. But after we get on land, and that's when we realized there's 64 people and only 20 people actually paid for the trip. And the person who organized one never came. He took the money and gone. So now we have to decide how we're going to proceed from there. So my mother used to speak a little bit Chinese. So she gathered everybody together and said, why don't you guys give me any saving, any jewelry you have? We need to buy an engine. So they bought an 8 horsepower engine and they put it on that boat. Now, and then they was fighting. They say, okay, we're not going to let these 44 people get on because they never pay for it. But my mother, she was tough. She's like, no, we get here together, we live together, we die together. So, okay, everybody get on. It was like, the Hong Kong's 2 days away, no big deal, everybody get on. And so we left the island of China and we're heading to Hong Kong. Now, nobody know where we are going. Anyway, so we keep going, and I think like 5 hours in, and we go in one direction. We see boat go the opposite. Now, because I'm more brave now, I get on top of the little, bamboo cover, and I lay on. I said that was the best light because you had breeze and all that. And now I think I get used to the seasick, so I'm not seasick anymore. But then the skies are getting dark, and we realize everybody go the opposite direction because the storm is coming, and they keep telling us turn around. We have no idea. We keep heading in right straight to it. So now they have to make a decision. Either we turn back or do something, or we're going to die. Because I can touch the water when I'm on the boat. That you see how shallow, how close it is to the... So they decide everybody, they're going to dock onto the shore, and then we're going to walk over, and they're going to take the boat around. Because on the map, you can see from Vietnam, in order to go from Vietnam to China, there is a huge channel that you have to go through. And if we take that boat to the channel, it's definitely going to die. So everybody get off. Now, same thing, because you can't get the boat in very close. Everybody jump down. And same thing, I jumped out and water way over my head. Somebody saved me one more time. And that's the thing, when I get here, I realize, how do I survive? I can't swim. And, we've dropped into water so many times. But I guess, he didn't want me to die. So and when the boat left, only 2 people, the captain and another middle-aged man. You can only see the tip of the shell from you standing on the shore. That was how high the wave was. Mm-hmm. So we weren't sure if they're going to make it, but we keep walking. So we're walking the whole day. We walk from like early in night, morning to morning, and then nightfall. So they finally came around, and oh my God, by the time we saw that the boat come in, we were so happy, but we were starving. No food. So anyway, so we stopped by there, and then they look for food. Well, the adult went somewhere. They came back with a dead pig, and we was like, yeah, we get food. Next thing you know, all of a sudden, as soon as they put the pig on the boat, people came from nowhere, everywhere. There's boat, so the whole village came surrounding us. Apparently, that some adult decided to steal a pig, and the village saw it, but they didn't stop them. They let them do it, and then they followed them to the boat. And then everybody's on their knee. I thought we're going to die. And then everybody's on their knee begging for our life. So they actually took our boat into the bay, and they took the engine, and they let us go. Now, you can't leave because, you can't go in the bay without the wind. So everybody that can swim, jump in and swim and pull the boat out. So you know how heavy that boat is. So we get out, and then, so they took the engine, but they didn't took the diesel. few that we have. So we waved to some of the fishermen local and was like, if you can tuck us, we give you this. So they took us for 5 hours, and then from then on, it just the mercy of the wind.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so that's a long one. But anyway, so that's 24 days later. We thought we were gonna die because the last storm we hit broke the sail, and we're just floating around. And at this time, everybody was like coughing like crazy, eyes all red, and you go like this. Your hair was all like the lice is everywhere, and that's it. This end of life, and we know it because we had nothing left, no sail, we don't know where we were, and I was like, and all of a sudden the boat was rocking really heavily, and I was like, okay, that's it. But then we see bright light, really bright, and I was like, is it heaven? You think like that, and you're like this, you're like that, and you see there's this wall, the black wall up, and you cannot see the top. Apparently, the Hong Kong Coast Guard. Why we had the last storm, we have the big, I think, white flag on top, and before the sail broke, somebody detects us and called the Coast Guard, and they found us. Holy cow. And I was so weak that my brother and I couldn't move much, so they actually come down and pick us up and then carry up the rope ladder. Now, when I get on there, I don't know where the engine comes out. I get on there, I have to be on my knee, like kneeling, sitting, everybody, the entire, because we were considered illegal immigrant, right? So I looked down at our boat, and I was like, how did we do it? I mean, you either kill me now, I'm not getting down there. Even at 13, I was so frightened from looking down of how we survived that last 24 days on this tiny little boat. Mm-hmm. I had to have some miracle somewhere. We had 3 storms. Then the last storm hit us. And so anyway, so that's my story. But then sadly, because we get to Hong Kong on August 18, 1988, we were considered illegal immigrant because Hong Kong accept refugee up to June 16, 1988. Oh my goodness. We were 2 months behind. And Vietnam used to be like Cuba, right? Mm-hmm. So there's no information coming in and out. We're completely isolated. So now, next thing you know, we were in prison. It's called detention camp. But interestingly, last night I was looking through my mother's stuff, and my mom passed away 24 years ago. But I found our car. You can see. So when you become the refugee, you no longer have a name. You have a number. So that is a number. See, that's you took a.
Oh man!
You see, that's all you have. So you have pictures, and then you have a number. Yeah. Wow. So they no longer name. So I can call myself Doctor 12351 or whatever. Yeah, that's another story. Anyway. So, but what they do is that, so even though we're in prison, they feed you 3 times a day. But they have something called screening, where the Hong Kong immigration office will talk to you and select you if you are a political refugee, meaning you left Vietnam, just like my mother, okay. And you can prove to them that you left because of that. They give you a freedom. If you left because of hardship, no, back. They send you back to Vietnam.
Not because she was supportive of the government.
Because she were able to contact her U.S. employee, like, I don't know, she had a friend over here, and they sent some document, and then she proved to them that she used work for the U.S. government. So they gave us free. But sadly, I was imprisoned for a year. So they have the number, and mine was 12,000, right? So there's like 12,000 people in front of me. But sadly, because people were desperate, so they start doing all kinds of stuff. We do hunger strike, we protest. Now, exactly about a year and 2 months, the second Christmas we were in prison, they found that the Hong Kong police gonna come in and arrest some people in the camp. And we're living in the camp where it's about 2,000 people, about almost 3,000. So they have 10 huts. Each hut have bunk bed, 3-level bunk bed, back to back like that. So they have side to side, and then 6 per one of those beds. So we have 270 people in one of those rooms, right? And they lock you up at night. 10 o'clock they lock you up, and then 7 in the morning they open up. But anyway, so we have nowhere to go. But then they come in, they gonna arrest someone, and somehow somebody know and leak the information. So the whole camp decide to protest. They dig up the ground. They pile up all the gate with plastic, and they burn it. Now, and then on December 29, 1989, at 5 a.m., they were banging on the metal, foam. And I ran out to the front of the camp, and there was, and because it's an island in the middle of nowhere. So there is two barbed wire, and you can see the beach and the dock, and you can see 2 or 3 Hong Kong police ship actually docking. They had the little open, and you can see police are running with like anti-terrorist SEALs and everything surrounding the camp. It's like, oh my God. And, I was 14. It was fun, exciting.
Like, know what a night out with you is like. You think that's fun and exciting?
Yeah. I mean, after a year, you don't see things, you don't see anything fun. So like that was interesting. And my friend and I would, and then they were saying, hey, give up. Nobody gave up. And all of a sudden they start shooting tear gas. You hear, and then and my friend was laughing and then I was like, and then you start choking. If you ever have tear gas, it's the worst thing you can imagine. Like you live, you don't pass out, but you can't breathe. You gasp for air. And because my mother used to be in the war, so she know how to deal with that. So it's like to get water and a towel and just cover your face. But you can't do so much of it. So we were running around camp and there's no place to run. So eventually after a few hours, they gave up, right? So they came in, we all kicked out the camp. You look in, it looked like a war zone. And it's in December, so it's kind of cold. It's like 10 degrees Celsius. Everybody was like shivering, was hungry. But so it took a year for them to finally coming back for the interview. So we have another extra year for no reason because we do stupid thing. So finally in 1990, middle of 90, that's when our turn to interview. And then we got our freedom. My mother and my brother and I, we left the camp and go to another camp where she can work in a factory and I can go to school, but it's just a refugee school. It's just to keep us occupied. And then we were there for about 8 months, and then we go from there to the Philippines. So we had tear gas, we had hunger strike, and then it's my luck. I got to the Philippines. A month later, volcano erupted. Pinatubo, Mount Pinatubo. It was 600 years sleep, and all of a sudden decided to wake up at that time when I was there. So in the middle of the night, 5 in the afternoon, all of a sudden, all the house was like sandy. Because in the camp, you have the little hut you stay, and it's very hot, so there's a lot of opening everywhere. And you clean the house, the dining table, and then 5 minutes later, it's like dusty again. And then what's going on? And we realized, it's going to erupt soon. You have an earthquake tonight. And everybody said, the Americans are coming and rescue us. And I look at them, I was like, there's 10,000 people here. Nobody can come. And I was like, okay, so what happened if you have an earthquake? You should stay inside or stay outside. I said, that doesn't matter where you stay. Right? Earthquake, where you going to stay? So we went to bed and we said, if it collapsed, then we might as well bury here. It's better than sleep. So we went to bed. And then exactly about midnight, you start feeling the house rocking because I was on the second floor. And I was okay, if I die, I die. I sleep, close my eyes, sleep. And we fall asleep, and I don't know, for a while, and then we keep sleeping, and it's never, it's keep being dark. And finally, we were like, wake up, and I was like, what happened to my face? So it was sandy all over the second floor. We turned on the flashlight because there's no electricity at night. And there was that much ashes, all inside the house, inside the apartment. And I ran downstairs with so we have 2 families stay together. So, and then mom said, what happened? It's like, look, and then we look and it's like, well, what are you gonna do? So we had some canned food, we ate a little bit, and go back to sleep. 48 hours later, finally you see the light. And then it's so interesting, like when we couldn't open the door because it's the ash, same thing. I had a picture here too because I saved those. But the ashes on the in the ground was amazing. It's like snow here, you see, but that's on the roof. It's all, oh my Lord. Yeah, all the ashes covered. Wow. So we push out and we only see the head everybody's sticking head out. So what happened now? So we like, okay, so some adult realized, was like, okay, we have to push the ash down because they have another one coming. It would collapse because the building was built in 1979 and that was 1991. So it was pretty old. So, everybody needed their job and I was 16, so I had to get up there and we tie a rope around one person and hold the rope and they push down like that. So I failed first time. I went up, but I get up the second time. I did my work and everything. Now we move to the bathroom. So I was like, okay, usually the tip is the strongest, right? I was like, okay, let me climb over there and start doing. As soon as I step my foot from here over there, the thing collapsed. I go straight down. But fortunately for me, they have, the public bathroom, we have the concrete wall like this. Mm-hmm. I fell this way. If I fell this way, I would have been buried in the Philippines. And it's after that, I get to go. I don't have to do any more chore because I did my job. But so those are all the things but anyway, so when I came here, I was 17. Mm. And I was thrown in 9th grade. I left Vietnam when I was finished 7th grade. So I came here to Lake Braddock and I was enrolled into high school and I was in 9th grade. I've had my first Scantron ever. I look at that and I was like, what I don't know what it is. My English was not much at all. So I failed miserably on that first exam. But at the end of the year, I managed to get up to a B+. But all year in high school, every single summer, I took every summer school. I took ESL, and by the time I graduate, I have 30 extra credit. And now it sounds like, okay, it's great. No, I had to do it because I don't have another choice because I have to catch up. And then, so we talk about, sometimes, a lot of time we talk about stress. Sometimes we go to the dark time, but then our body very quickly forget those times. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes we get so comfortable that a little struggle, messes up. Same thing with me. Every now and then I feel so stressed out about something. And then like somebody remind me of how I get here. And I was like, what's going on? I came here. I didn't speak English. I had nothing but my bare hand. I get here today. If something happened, I can always start over. I have my English. I have my knowledge. So somehow we forgot where we've been just because, as you get to a certain level in life or in society, you get more comfortable and then we become softer. And then we create the stress on ourselves. Because everybody asks us how you deal with stress. We talk about stress, but do we ever identify what our stress is? Just like the phone, you have 200 apps running, your battery going to drain, right? We all have one battery. We don't have backup battery.
Well, your mindset around all this is just incredible. I mean, you've gone through things that people could never compare to, right? Not comparative, but to even have hard time to digesting. And hearing you say, well, I had to. Emotionally, you didn't have to. But your mindset and your drive was like, well, I just did all that, so this is nothing. I'm gonna rock through this. I'm gonna get caught up, and I'm gonna capitalize on the opportunity that I have to be here.
And that's why I love to travel the world. You see, because I think it's sad because United States is the most powerful country of the world. But I think that we're slowly going backward because the social media is so rarely available. Like 30 years ago, you want to see the world, you have to travel around the world. Right. Now you pop the phone, you see everything. But that's the thing, who's controlling what you want to see and what you hear? Yeah. So so a lot of time, one single entity can direct and manipulate the information. So you think you know the truth. You think you hear, you think you're very knowledgeable. But sometimes we're actually very ignorant. Mm-hmm. And that's why you see the stress you have and you think oh my God. But when you travel, like I just came back from medical mission in Vietnam 2 months ago. And for Vietnam, we were helping 2,200 people in 6 days. But all these children that I saw, they can barely speak Vietnamese, even though they live in Vietnam. Because they're small transition.
2,200 people in 6 days?
Yeah. Yeah, we have 8 dentists, 2 doctors, 4 pharmacists, me, and then 40, 50 other volunteer. We see 200 dental patients a day. And they go from 4 years old to about 12. But here's the amazing thing. Half of those volunteers are teenagers from here. How I have 4 children, so I know how they are. Like a little economic update, like one is like, oh my God, what happened? They go over there, they work they have to wake 6 in the morning, they work at 7:30 to 4 in the afternoon under 95 degree Fahrenheit with 100% humidity, with, very not proper toilet. Nobody complain. Why? Because there's hundreds of children sit out there under the sun for 4 hours and none of them complain. Then all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, I'm a lot more fortunate than they do. You see, so that's the same thing with us. Sometimes we that's why I tell people, take time, travel the world. It's not just for stress relief or anything like that, but to see the world, to open, to change the perspective. Then you might see, if you live in this country, you're more fortunate than, I don't know, like 80, 90% of the people in this world.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes we forgot just because we're in here, we don't see outside.
What I think is interesting, just to tie in like the impact that entrepreneurial businesses can have, is that what I hear, and I get some other questions in here, because the story has been really impactful, is that the ability to have your own practice afforded you the flexibility to go back to Vietnam to actually service and give back to people that are under medicalized, like as far as like treatment goes and that kind of thing, which I think is actually, when you think about like the entrepreneurial journey, has a lot of people talking about just like impact and the ability to be your own boss and have flexibility. Very few people I know have actually taken that part of the business and actually use the flexibility to actually have a larger scale impact.
Well, let me actually modify this. So it's not always like that. For 12 years, when I first started out on my own, right, I did not I didn't see my father for 8 years, because like everybody else, start our business, I work 12 days, 6 days a week.
Time out. Hold on. I just want to make sure everybody understands this, is that when you get into medical fields, like it's not like, hey, I'm just serving and taking care of people. Like it's a grind.
Yes.
And like your story that you're telling, because I got a grandfather and aunt and uncle that are OBGYNs, like it's not like, oh, they're a doctor, they go in and treat people and they go home at 5 o'clock. It's a full grind. And what I think is really cool to make the connection from your story, which is why we wanted you to share it, is it's a mindset journey, because you basically, what I'm hearing you say is you took that mindset for what got you to the US and you basically applied that mindset to your grind to get your business off the ground. So continue, but I think that's a huge connection for people listening, is that the mindset that happens in your personal life bleeds into your professional life, and that type of mindset actually has the impact to where you are today. So continue. I apologize.
Yeah, and like, so because I'm a boat people, right? I'm a refugee. So basically I own a lot to a lot of people, this country. But along the way, I met so many wonderful, wonderful people, like people who barely know me. And they even the people in Hong Kong, they don't know who we are. They don't know obligated to help us, but they help us. They save us, like the Coast Guard that save us from the boat, the people in the camp who actually, feed us. And also when I came to the US, so one of the story I have is also very amazing. So right before I graduated from high school, I had to go to George Mason, and I didn't have a car. And in Virginia, you have no car, you can't really go anywhere. So I talked to my counselor. I was like, I'm not sure how I'm going to go to school, and I work every single day. I go to school from 7 in the morning to 3 something. I get home and I work at Pizza Hut from 6 to 12. And then I get home at 1. And then, so I do that over and over again. But still, like with that, I could not save money to buy a car. Mm-hmm. And he's like, he go back, he talked to his wife, and then, right before I graduate, and he's like, don't worry, I'll help you out. And I was like, okay, you help me out. Well, I'm confused anyway. But after I graduated, he took me to the bank, had one piece of paper, say a paragraph said, okay, Nguyen Tran owe me $7,000 for 10 years with no interest. And I was shocked. Like he barely know. He know me 3 months before I graduate. And he would lend me $7,000 to buy my first car to go to school. The car was $6,000, but $1,000 for insurance. And when in 2005, because I graduated in 95, I pay him, and he completely forgot about it. You see, and that's why I do everything I can. And financially, I cannot help a lot of people, but whatever I can with my knowledge, what I learn.
Is that you're saying he forgot about, but you didn't?
No, every year. No, I could never forget it. My wife always make fun of me. I think because I think that's why I have a lot of friends that really care, because I care. Sometimes I forgot if I lend people money, but when somebody does me some good thing, I just can't forget it. And even now, he had so much admiration for me. At 70, he retired as a counselor. He went back to school and get his doctorate in history. And then he drive Uber. And amazing thing. And he do it just for fun. And now he's 80 and he look very healthy and he's great. But I owe forever in debt. And here's the thing. After I graduate, and this is the other thing about cultural too. And there's like, why can't a lot of immigrant work hard? Well, because we have a purpose. right? My mom sacrificed her life for us, and we almost died many times just to get the freedom we have right now. I mean, that's not for free. And so, but that's the other thing that I think a lot of people confuse here is a lot of people think that freedom was granted. No, you earn it, right? That's why I try not to take everything for granted. I do forget sometimes, but that's why every now and then when I talk about this story, it reminds me of where I came from, and it helped me to get stronger. But at the same time, it helped me to realize I used to talk to my kid like this. You're so lucky. You know how, but then I was wrong. How would they know? They were never there. It's like you try to explain somebody to somebody an elephant, right? Doesn't matter how many times you describe it, it never worked. But you show the picture one, and they will never forget. So I took them there instead and show them, where tough life is. Same thing with me. If I wasn't there, I wouldn't know how my parents used to live. But I think sometimes that's another conflict that we have with the next generations. But anyway, so he lent me that money. He would never, and then even now I couldn't pay him. Because he it's funny, I took him out for lunch. He's like, no, let me pay for it. I was like, no, let me pay. He's like, no, I get more check than I can spend right now because I have a federal card check. But see his generosity never ends. I was like, no, let me pay. But now, instead of me paying him, I pay someone else. I help someone else. I think that's how we're supposed to be. Just like you guys, we all have to earn a living. But I don't think people can make enough money ever, right? Because no money is enough. But the thing is, your life is limited, not limitless. And if you spend all your life earning and don't live a life, what's the point of making all the money? Think about why we have so much depression here. Because you lost purpose. Because what we do the same thing, we become a machine. It's automatic. Every morning you wake up, you do same routine, and you wonder one day, 50-some years old, you're like, what have I accomplished in my life? When is it going to end? When was the last time you have fun? Real fun, not like I tell myself, I have fun spending. Yes, and no. You enjoy spending time with them, but you actually have fun? Sometime, not all the time. Most vacation with a kid, you go home, you want another vacation, right?
Vacation, exactly.
But that's some simple thing that we forget. You have to find your fun. You have to enjoy. Do something for yourself. Because one thing I realized is we always said, okay, when you marry, there's no longer you, there's us. No, you're wrong. There's still you in there somewhere. Otherwise, we get lost. Because you can't do us so much, right? And then it's good to be selfless, but then you cannot completely forget yourself because your body needs you as much as anyone else.
I am still in shock of this story. So I usually have really good questions. And right now I'm still just kind of sitting in it being that's one hell of a journey. And for anybody that says they have a hard day at work, they should probably shut up and listen. So let me ask you this question. I think the story that you just told gives a lot of entrepreneurs and the people, our audience, perspective on life. I think when you have a hard day and you're like, oh, I got told no 100 times on the phone, making phone calls, or the deal didn't work, or whatever, and then you hear your story, you start to realize my pain points probably aren't that bad, and my life is pretty good. So let me ask you this question. You've got an amazing mindset that doesn't matter if it's in personal life, professional life, is applicable for people to keep moving forward and understanding that you have a purpose, and you still gotta your statement was, I didn't have a choice. And I think most times recognize I didn't have a choice, I didn't move forward. What would be 3 mindset tips that you would give people when they're in a very highly stressed environment? Your go-to, highly stressed, you say, these are my 3 rules that I would follow in order to get through it from a mindset perspective?
Well, like I said, first is identify your stress. Write it down. What are the stress that you're dealing with? And then with all those stress, the funny thing is when you actually write it down, it might not be as many as you think. And also, when you identify those stress, divide into which is in your control and what is not. Because think about it, the first thing that you go to a doctor is we have to diagnose what is wrong with the patient. It's not hard to treat someone. It's hard to figure out what's wrong with them, right? Mm-hmm. Well, you say you're stressed. What are you stressed about, right? So that's number 1. Mm-hmm. Identify your stress, because when you identify them, you will come up with a solution. And then if the one that you can't control, let's say I'm stressed about the weather going to go bad, what are you going to do with that? I trust I'm going to tax a lot at the end of the day. Well, make more money first before you worry about taxing. So it's things like that. So sometimes the other thing is, especially now, like for your work from home, the other advice is only allocate one area of physical space for your work. And as soon as you're done work, take a walk. You work from home. I highly recommend take a walk for 10 minutes to decompress and put the hat of work down and close that door and come home.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point.
Especially with real estate agent, because most people work from home, right? So it's never end.
There's a lot of people in our industry that are husband wives that work together, and a lot of just the business owners that work together. And my wife and I, we owned our own business, and we both worked from home, both had offices at home, and everything did revolved around working at home, and that was incredibly unhealthy. And we realized we had to take it outside of the home.
Yeah, because you have to have a
Home was not
physical
home,
space,
It was an office.
right? Because we have to remember we have different role, right? And just take a hat, hit. I think this is a fun fact, fun game we should do. Get a bunch of hat and write down dad, husband, work, friend, and maybe every now and then put that hat on. So when you go home, what hat do you wear? When you're out in the office, what hat do you wear? I think it's not only it's healthy for relationship too, because especially it's interesting. I don't know if it's appropriate here, but I have 9 friends in college, 9 female friends that all very successful in business, but all divorced. Why? Because when they work like us, like a man, they come home. It's like, if I work like you, why do I have to do the wifey stuff? But hey, you marry, you're not married a boss. You're not married a CEO. You're not married a president, right? You marry a wife or a lover. So sometimes when we get so stressed at work that it never ends, so when you go home, you forgot to take off the boss hat. You maybe overlap with the wife hat, and then that's when bad things go wrong.
Lose the relationship.
Yeah. So just get different hat and put it on, and because myself, I make a mistake of, I didn't do a good job at father hat, because I remember I told you guys I worked 12 hours a day for 12 years, and because I was by myself, I didn't have any choice. And same thing, I did have a choice, but because I thought I didn't have a choice, but I could have closed, hour and work less. But like any entrepreneur, we start out remember, job is something you do for life, not a few years. If you burn yourself out before the end, then what's the whole point of it? You're building a business and you don't have, the health and the energy to enjoy the fruit of success. So all the thing you put in, that's maybe why we fail sometimes.
I think it's beautiful. Like your takeaways, just for everybody, like as you're giving those stories and your perspective on it, was like identify your stress, then being able to say, like, are you in control of it or are you not in control of it? Because that's huge. Like if you're not in control of it, like you got to figure out, like, it's not worth stressing out about. But the third part was really cool about how do you create a system or process in your life to separate parts of your life, because when you let it bleed over, to your point about like the relationship, if you let parts of your life bleed into the other side of your relationship or your life, can actually be detrimental to it, which I thought was really cool to see, the perspective of you're working to facilitate a life, but if your life turns into all work, then you're actually not leading a life that's actually meaningful, because then it just becomes a complete professional life and there's no end how much money you can make, but your life is finite. So you're actually hindering your ability to create experiences that are actually worth, which is why you got into business to begin with, to fund a great life, but you're actually not experiencing it, which I think is really insightful for everybody that's listening that's an entrepreneur, is that your impact is amazing as an entrepreneur, because you can create awesome experiences for people, be able to give, you're able to give time, you're able to give services, you're actually able to like see your work manifest in a way that changes someone's life. But if you get, what I'm hearing you say to kind of wrap up is that, but if you get so engrossed in the professional side of what the entrepreneur life could be, you actually lose the ability to have an amazing life, which is what you set out to be at the beginning.
I look at your story and your background, and I appreciate, and I can hear it through the details and the emotion of your story and sharing of how you survived that initial journeys, and multiple survival stories in that in itself, and then having somebody showing up and helping you prepare for college. And I get through you that obviously paying it back is important. What was it that becoming a doctor and chiropractor and spinal rehabilitation and acupuncture that allows you to do that?
So it's very interesting. When I was young, when I was small, my dream was to be an engineer.
Okay.
But I don't know, somehow when I went in refugee camp, something changed. I'm not sure what, but I started treating people in there. Back then I was 14, 15, and I treat people headache. I do massage, I pull the hair. I don't remember how I learned or where, and then when I came here, all of a sudden I want to help people. And then, a lot of Asia back in the day, doctor, when you say help people, they always think of a doctor, right? But now I realize if you're a billionaire, you can help a whole country, right? Doctor, you can help one person at a time. Mm-hmm. So anyone can help someone unless, if you wanted to. But so then I think that's where it shifted me, because I received so much help during the journey and here, and I want to give back. But my knowledge there is, the only way you can help people is being a doctor. So my thing was just, if I want to be a doctor, well, also back in the day, doctor, you make good money so you can help people. So doctor was what I thought of. Chiropractor was just something accidentally happened along the way after my mom was diagnosed with cancer. And that's the other story that kind of pushed me in another direction of medical profession. I want to be a dentist. I want to be a family doctor. But then something happened to my mom that I was really frustrated with her doctor, her care. So then, so that's how I stumbled on chiropractic care and acupuncture. But same thing, but even when I become a chiropractor, I don't have a lot of confidence in what I can accomplish. I was like, what can you do with crack, pop, and push? But when I actually do those things, I realize I'm the only one, the chiropractor, the only one to ever care of your spine. We don't realize how important your spine is, your central nervous system, your backbone. Any business that want to be strong, they have a strong backbone, right? What about you and me? Mm-hmm. You don't have strong backbone. You think you'll be healthy? And that's what motivated me more and more pushing, because before all this come around sitting, we don't have problem with back pain. But it's not the pain that worry me, because the sitting doesn't cause pain. It's called faster breakdown of your body. Just like if you hear, your car would, imagine if your car is on all day when you're at work. How long is the engine going to last? When we have poor posture, who's holding you up all day? These guys, the muscle in the back holding. But they burn your life without you knowing it. Just like I said earlier, you have the app running without you knowing it. When you have poor posture, you're drained. And the other thing, we talk about stress, right? It doesn't matter where stress comes from. Physical stress, chemical stress, emotional stress, they all drain from the one battery that we have. So if you have physical stress on top of emotional stress, you wonder why we don't break down. Our brain is very complicated. It takes 25% of your oxygen at any time. So it's run like crazy, right? So think about it. If your brain was meant to work 8 hours a day, but your battery's on 50%. So what happened after half a day? You only have 50 minutes to drain. You take away from your immune system. You take away. That's why stress kills people. But they forget the physical stress is as important. And that's one thing you can change. It's hard to change mental stress because you don't identify them. But physical stress, think about it. If your body's stressed throughout all day, whole lifting, you go to the gym for another hour, you think that's helping? I don't know. Let you guys decide. You work 12 hours, you add another 4 hours, you make, overtime. Is that good at the beginning? But at the end of the day, long term, is that good for you? You see, so exercise, I think we get confused between being fit and being healthy. Exercise makes you feel good. Why? Because your adrenaline's pumping. You feel great because your circulation going. But if you have so much lactic acid built up from, poor posture, from muscle overuse, from tightness, and you go and you grind them more, what happened then? Your joint and your back will prematurely wear and tear. It's not about dying. It's not about pain. Your body was last. Everybody want to live long, right? You want to last until at least 80, 90 because you retire at 65. You want to have 10, 15 years to enjoy yourself, right? But if all the joint die at 60 or 50, what happened then? We don't have spare part, right? At least not yet. So that's why I say I love the term. I make it up. I say I'm an antique restorator. I restore your antique, right? But one thing that there's no one pill for everything. Stress, you have to identify your physical stress, your mental stress, and food. That's another thing. Your body cannot work an empty calorie. Imagine you work and you make no money for a month. Yeah, it's great, but you're gonna live. How are you gonna pay your mortgage, right? If you feed your body nothing but grass, how are you gonna live? You start saving, you change the saving, and one day you're gonna break down. So just identify different stress you have, but don't forget physical, chemical, and mental. All three of those are extremely important, and you can address any of them. And that's where chiropractic come in, massage therapists come in, acupuncturists come in, physical therapists come in. We help you. Think about human community, right? You take a village to raise a child, right? Same with you guys, right? You make the money and you kill yourself in the process. Let us slow down that time. I'm not here to promote my profession, but trust me, if everybody go to chiropractic care, they'll be a lot healthier. Imagine you have a car for 50 years and you never take it in for any checkup. You think that car gonna last that long? Our body's the same thing.
Yeah.
We never take it in. And say, oh, I don't have pain. Well, if pain is killing people don't have stroke, they don't have heart attack. Joint disease doesn't cause pain until it's too late.
Yeah. That makes sense. Well, no, I mean, I think this is a great, now that I'm thinking about it, like, how do you actually maintain your body? Because I think a lot of entrepreneurs are so thinking forward around, like, how do I take care of the people around me, how do I take care of my clients? And then, like, it's almost like
But they forgot about themselves.
Exactly.
Right? So they say in any business, so I had a business coaching one, and he said, Dr. Tran, for you to keep your business running, you have to put back at least 10 to 20% of your income, right? Why don't you put 5% of your income back into your body every year? You might live longer too.
It's an interesting way to look at, like, that's a grill. We're just having mic drops in here.
Yeah.
Who's work for you? You're all about who's working for you. Right. This body.
We expend ourselves for our consumers, our clients, our work, our kids, our spouses, and what's left. Yeah. I got to take a nap. Like, that's kind of like the end of the day. It's like, I got to go. That's the care that we give ourselves. We go sleep, right? Yeah. But we got to do more. Yes. Right. You got to go into the body shop. Literally the body shop.
The body shop. Seriously. Because we are a machine. Right? And B was like, I thought my body can heal. Yes, but did you ever give it time to heal? Right? It's like you need to fix this room and you never stop working. You never stop using this room. Anybody can come and fix this? No. You never give your time heal and you don't feed them. Think about it. Your car, when you drive your car, right? The more you drive, the more often you oil change. Yep. But we are the opposite. The busier we are, the less we eat. Yep. And then weekend, we do nothing, we eat a lot. And you wonder why we have things that we don't want. Because we don't eat appropriately, Just if you think about hunter-gathering, right? If you don't hunt, where you get food, you don't have food to eat. You don't have a fit where you saw all the stuff and you go out. No, you have to go and work for it and then get the food. Now, we don't do that much anymore. So then the habit is like in a weekend, we have party, we have so much, and then we're busy. We don't eat much. And then that's the thing. And then when you gain a little weight, you get scared, so you start cutting everything back. And you wonder why you're sick. Maybe you might look heavy, you might have overweight, but you don't have the nutrient that your body needs running because fat is very hard to burn. Just like you put money in the CD, right? Stock. Then you can't use stock to buy food. Our body can use fat to burn when you're starving. You need something right away. That's why how they mess you up with sweet. But your muscles being burned out for food when you're hungry. Your muscles breaking down. So that's why sometimes I have patients that say, I work out for 3 months, but I don't want to gain any weight. Well, did you change your diet? No, I eat the same. So you don't change your diet, you eat very little, and you work out very hard. You're actually eating yourself alive every day. Where do you get fuels from? Yeah. Your own muscle.
Well, this is a great, I just want to kind of, first off, Dr. Tran, thank you for coming out and just sharing this. I think, your journey is really inspirational. I think it'd also give a lot of people inspiration about, where they're at in life, but also the tidbits on, how to manage stress, because the insight for a lot of entrepreneurs that are constantly grinding or worried or whatever, and they're constantly working, that they don't actually take the time to pause, say, where's the stress coming from? How do I manage it? And then also understand how that stress manifests into physical challenges and how do you actually want to reinvest in your body to make sure that you're actually at optimal speed to be able to go build that business. So I just want to say thank you, because this was one of the best podcasts we've had as far as a personal journey and how it actually correlates mindset from a personal journey that actually was life or death, literally, and how that overlays into business, which isn't life or death, but it's actually how we facilitate our lives. So thank you.
Yeah, and I think we spend a lot of time on this podcast because talking about mental acuity, mental awareness, and mental health, but we never talk about the physical aspects of it. So that's why like I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, gosh, I'm not gonna say never, but I seldom go to a chiropractor unless I'm kinked or tweaked. I'm gonna rethink some things.
Just think about the laptop, right? You update the software, but what about the hardware?
Yeah.
I remember a few days ago, like my father-in-law is so funny. He's like, son, he had a 5-year-old phone. He's like, can you put this app in for me? What? I'm like, oh, sorry, Dad, your phone's too old for this app. Our body's the same thing, right? Sometimes our mind is younger than our body because we never take care of the body. Yes. They have to work together. Otherwise one of those outdated, that's it.
Well, thanks everybody for tuning in, and make sure you turn in next week for another great episode of Entrepreneurial Impact. And thanks, Dave, and thanks, Dr. Tran.
Well, thank you for having me.
Have a great day, everybody.